Hey everybody, today is December 14th. This is Mr. Sheridan. This is Earth Science for today. So here's the big deal. We have a summative on Thursday. That's when I'm going to assign it. We've been doing CK12s for the last 3 weeks that have covered all the material that you need to know on climate. So what we're going to do is I just assigned today your rubric. It looks like this. So the 3 learning targets that we're going to cover is this. First of all, I can analyze geoscience, or let's start here. The first thing that you need to know is that you need to understand all 42 words on your vocab list. All right, if you go into Google Classroom, under week 18, I move both of the things that you'll need to know to study for the summative are right here at the top. Number 1, you need to know the vocabulary. Okay, it is right here. There's 42 words. You need to know them all. You need to understand what these words mean. And if you don't, then you need to go back to the CK12s and restudy that term. And if you still are struggling with it, which is okay, please let me know. But you need to go back and see if you can find it on your own first. But all the definitions of all of these words are right here. Especially we're going to talk about the different types of climates. You're going to need to know those as well. So then when we get to our rubric, the first learning target that we are going to focus on is that I can analyze geoscience data and the results from global climate models to make an evidence-based forecast of the current rate of global or regional climate change and associated future impacts to Earth's systems. So what does that mean? We're talking about global climate models, okay? So we're saying, can you look at data that describes current climate trends and interpret it and figure out what that means and what that's going to mean for certain climates? So we need to understand all of those different types of climates that are on our vocab sheet. So these ones over here, things like continental climate, maritime climate, microclimate, what is a Mediterranean climate, and can you give me examples? You're going to need to be able to give examples of a humid subtropical climate. A lot of these we put examples of where they are, but you can go find those too if they're not listed here on your vocab sheet. Marine West Coast climate. Humid continental climate. You need to know what all of these climates mean and be able to describe them. So you need to understand how altitude and latitude affect climate. You need to understand. You need to be able to take data, data that's either in a table or a chart or a graph, and be able to interpret it. So we've done a lot of work over the last few years in middle school with graphing and being able to read tables and graphs. You need to be able to put that to work to apply it to what effects that trend or that data could have on climate moving forward. Our next learning target is I can use a model to describe how variations in the flow of energy into and out of Earth systems result in changes in climate. So here's what we're talking about. When energy moves into or out of an area, it obviously affects the climate. So short-term things, like things that are going to affect the climate over 1 to 10 years are things like large volcanic eruptions, El Nino and La Nina. You need to understand what those things are and how they affect the climate. Things that take longer, that cause longer-term climate change that would last for either tens of years or hundreds of years are like things like changing in ocean circulation or changes in human activities. We talk a lot about burning carbon, but or greenhouse gases. The other thing that obviously could also affect that is if we shut those things down and we do make the changes that a lot of companies around the world are making, and we reduce the burning of greenhouse gases, how does that will also affect the climate over tens of hundreds of years. And if the sun's solar output or the energy output from the sun were to change, that would obviously affect our climate if it was just a short-term energy flare or a short-term boost in energy from the sun. That would have a shorter-term effect on our climate here on Earth. Tends to hundreds of thousands of years. Now we're talking about thousands of years. We're talking about things that like changes in the Earth's orbit, if that were to change due to gravitational shifts of any kind. And we could also be talking about changes in the Earth's axis orientation. If we were to tilt either more or less, then obviously that's going to affect our climate. But those things obviously take a very long time. And things that take even longer would be changes in our atmospheric composition. Change it right now. Our atmosphere is made up of 99% nitrogen and oxygen. If that would take a very long time to change. If it did, that would obviously lead to climate change. Then our third learning target, I can develop a quantitative model to describe the cycling of carbon, important, among the hydrosphere, atmosphere, geosphere, and biosphere. You need to understand what those 4 words mean and where that is on our planet. We've talked about those in our second unit when we were talking about the Earth structure. You need to know what those things are. So we're talking about the carbon cycle here. You need to know what a carbon sink is and what a carbon source is, and you need to be able to name multiple examples of each. You need to describe how carbon moves between those 4 areas, the hydrosphere, atmosphere, geosphere, and biosphere. And you need to be able to identify where the carbon sinks and carbon sources are on the Earth, and where there is more within those carbon sinks where carbon is stored. You need to understand where there's a lot of carbon, where there's a little bit of carbon, and where there's somewhere in between. You need to understand where most of the carbon is on the planet. So with that, that is what our summative is going to cover. Please go back and review your CK12s, and if there's areas that you feel are not covered as well as you'd like. So if you still have questions after that, please don't hesitate to call me. Shoot me an email. It's the quickest, easiest way to get a hold of me. You can also call the school if you like. I do check my voicemails there. So as far as our schedule this week, tomorrow, Tuesday, December 15th, we're gonna do a Kahoot, and we are gonna study the vocabulary a little bit if people have questions about that. And then Wednesday, you've got your advisory meetings, and Thursday is going to be our summative. So if you have questions or would like some things explained in detail, tomorrow's the day. That's when we're reviewing. After that, we will plan to see everybody on Thursday when we will assign the summative. So with that, I hope everybody has a great day, and I will see you all again in class tomorrow. Have a great day.